My husband brought home a set of triplets and insisted they were mine. I rushed to get a DNA test done overnight, and the results proved that none of the 3 children were related to either of us. But my husband lost it. He slapped me, called me disgusting, and forced me to sign the divorce papers, leaving me with nothing. Furious and shaken, I went to my best friend to vent. But the second she saw those 3 children, she grabbed the fruit knife from the table and slashed my face. If you dare say they aren't yours again, next time, I won't stop there. My chest felt so tight I could barely breathe. That night, I bought a ticket and fled back to my parents' house. I cried as I told them everything. But after hearing me out, they grabbed a garden hoe and beat death. Even as everything went dark, I still couldn't understand why everyone was forcing me to accept 3 children I had never given birth to. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day my husband first brought them home. I'm going downstairs for some fresh air. I'll be back soon. As I watched my husband, Ryan Taylor, bend down by the entryway to put on his shoes, a sudden jolt shot through my body. I had been reborn. Stay home and be good, okay, honey? When I come back, I'll bring you that chestnut cake you love from the bakery on the corner. His voice was so gentle, yet my heart twisted painfully in my chest. Even until the moment I died in my past life, I never understood why. We had dated for 3 years and been married for 5. We loved each other deeply. We had always been faithful to each other. A medical exam from a reputable clinic had confirmed that I had never given birth. And those 3 children had no blood relation to Ryan either. But in my last life, he had insisted they were mine. He had even forced me to give up millions in marital assets and leave with nothing. Why? Before I figured out the truth, I couldn't let him leave this house. The second he reached for the doorknob, I rushed over and jumped onto his back. Honey, don't go out. Let's have a baby of our own. Right now. His body stiffened slightly. And even his voice turned a little rough. Why so sudden? It's the middle of the day. And if we're trying for a baby, shouldn't we prepare first? I wrapped my arms around him even tighter. I don't care. I just want to take a bath with you. Only one thought filled my mind. If Ryan had a child of his own, maybe he wouldn't become obsessed with those 3 children of unknown origin. Maybe I could avoid the tragedy of my past life. But in the next second, the doorbell rang. Oh, I'll get it. As if pulled by some invisible force, Ryan rushed toward the door with only a towel wrapped around him. I ran after him, trying to stop him. But it was too late. With a click, he opened the door. Outside stood 3 identical little boys. Ryan turned back to me, his face full of joy, and said the exact same words he had said in my last life. Honey, come look at our children. Don't they look just like you? It felt as if all the strength had been drained from my body. I stumbled back a step. Ryan, I have never done anything to betray you. How could they possibly be my children? The smile on his face vanished instantly. He pointed at me and shouted. They're yours because I said they are. You gave birth to them. Don't even think about denying it. Vivian, you're going to accept them today whether you like it or not. Don't even think about abandoning me and our sons. His face was twisted with the same madness I remembered from my previous life. But this time, I didn't break down and argue like I had before. Instead, I let out a calm sigh. You say they're my children. Fine. A pregnancy would leave traces, wouldn't it? Where's your proof? We've been together for 8 years. Ask yourself honestly. Have I ever done anything to betray you or this family? My voice was filled with genuine confusion. I really don't understand. Why are you so determined to pin these 3 children of unknown origin on me? Ryan looked as if I had insulted him beyond forgiveness. The veins on his forehead stood out as he pointed at me and roared, Proof? They are the proof. They're standing right here. Vivian, I never thought you could be this heartless. These are your own flesh and blood. Even wild animals protect their young, and yet you won't even acknowledge your own children? You've disappointed me so much. Before I could finish, Ryan raised his hand. 2 hard slaps landed across my face. My ears rang and my cheeks burned with pain. After hitting me and shouting at me, Ryan looked as if he had just completed some sacred duty. He turned around and pulled the 3 children into his arms. It's okay, babies. We're not going to listen to your bad mommy. Daddy will take you to the bedroom to rest. With that, he shielded the 3 boys and walked straight into the bedroom. Then he locked the door behind him with a click. Soon, laughter drifted out from inside. Every laugh felt like it was cutting into my chest. This time, I didn't call my best friend over to help smooth things over like I had in my past life. This time, I wouldn't just sit back and suffer. And I definitely wouldn't let myself die the same unjust death again. But then, someone knocked on the door. My heart tightened. I didn't move. A second later, my best friend Chelsea Zeller's familiar loud voice rang out from outside. Vivian, what are you doing in there? Open the door. Did you make Ryan mad again? I'm telling you, that man listens to everything you say. He never messes around, he always puts you first. And there's nothing to complain about. What more do you want from him? Don't be ungrateful. Just as I thought. Ryan had gotten to her first. I took a deep breath and asked through the door. Chelsea, what did Ryan tell you? Chelsea sighed. You still have the nerve to ask? You cheated on Ryan and now you don't even have the guts to admit it? You won't even acknowledge your own children. Vivian, I never thought you were this kind of person. Do you even have a heart? You're making women look bad. Listening to her righteous accusations, I broke out in a cold sweat. In my past life, the moment Chelsea saw those 3 children, she grabbed the fruit knife on the table and slashed my face. Chelsea worked out regularly and was much stronger than me. I couldn't fight her off at all. Luckily, she hadn't seen the 3 children yet. I forced myself to stay calm and lied through the door. Chelsea, you've misunderstood. I think I caught the flu. I'm really dizzy and I don't want to get you sick. Let's talk another day. You should go home first. Chelsea fell silent for a moment. Then her voice suddenly sharpened. Wait, Vivian, is there someone else in there? Why does it sound like there are kids inside? My heart sank. I quickly denied it. No, you heard wrong. That's just the TV. Chelsea's voice turned frantic. Vivian, what the hell are you doing? Open the door. Her pounding slammed against the door again and again, each hit landing on my nerves. Panic surged through me. I rushed to drag the dining table and chairs over to block the door. I couldn't let her in again. Absolutely not. But just as I dragged the table to the door, I heard a click. The blood in my body seemed to turn cold. It was over. I had forgotten. Chelsea and I were so close that we each had a spare key to the other's place. The moment the door opened, Chelsea rushed straight toward the bedroom. Chelsea, don't open that door. I lunged forward, trying to stop her. But the bedroom door opened on its own. Inside, Ryan was holding the 3 children close, looking impossibly affectionate. Chelsea's eyes turned red with rage. Vivian, the proof is right in front of you and you're still trying to deny it? You shameless woman. She spun around, rushed into the kitchen, grabbed a kitchen knife, and swung it at me. Pain shot through my arm. If you dare say those children aren't yours one more time, I'll make sure you never say it again. I cried out and stumbled back. You disgusting woman. Those are your own children and you still refuse to acknowledge them? Fine. I'll teach you a lesson myself. She kept cursing, the knife raised. Again. Just as despair was about to swallow me whole, familiar footsteps came from the doorway. Mom, Dad, help me. My mother rushed over and shielded me. Chelsea Zeller, have you lost your mind? How dare you attack Vivian? My father stepped in front of me too, his face dark with anger. Whatever happened? Couldn't you talk it out? Why would you attack her? Chelsea was breathing hard. She pointed toward the bedroom. Mr. and Mrs. Bennett, why don't you ask her what she did? My parents looked past Chelsea and toward the bedroom door. The moment they saw the 3 children, their expressions changed. My mother shoved me away. Caught off guard, I fell to the floor. She pointed at me and screamed, Chelsea was right to hit you. A woman who won't even acknowledge her own children deserves it. My father turned on me too, his eyes filled with disappointment. You've disgraced this family. I never thought you could be this heartless. My heart sank. Just like in my past life. The moment anyone saw those 3 children, they lost all reason. The pain in my chest was worse than the pain in my body. You ungrateful thing. My mother snapped. If I'd known you would grow up to be someone who wouldn't even recognize her own children, I never should have had you. I forced myself to speak. Through the pain. Mom, Dad, wake up. Ryan and I have only been married for 5 years. We were together almost every day. How could I possibly have hidden a pregnancy from him and given birth to 3 children? What is wrong with all of you? Why are you so desperate to claim these children? Who came out of nowhere? My mother kicked me aside and rushed toward the boys behind Ryan. Oh, my precious grandsons. You're all so handsome. Come here and let Grandma see you. Mom, are you insane? I told you they have nothing to do with me. My father's expression darkened. You still dare talk back? They look exactly like you. Of course they came from you. Ryan is willing to forgive you and you should be grateful. You cheated, gave birth to someone else's children and now you don't even have the courage to admit it. My mother grabbed a vase and threw it at me. My father picked up the mop from the corner and came at me with it. I curled up, protecting my head, and shouted. Why do all of you go insane the moment you see these children? If you're so sure, then come with me for a DNA test. A DNA test? My mother snapped as she hit me. Why waste money? Anyone can see they're your sons. I didn't know how long it went on. Finally, they grew tired. Only then did they turn to Ryan. Ryan, we support you. Divorce this ungrateful daughter of ours. Make her leave with nothing. The house, the car, the savings. All of it should go to you. Ryan nodded obediently. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. Watching that scene, my heart went completely cold. In my past life, they had beaten me to death with a hoe. In this life, they had nearly beaten me to death all over again. In their eyes, I didn't matter. At all. All they cared about were those 3 children who had come out of nowhere. I no longer had the strength to argue. I simply said, fine, I'll agree to the divorce. But first, you have to clear my name. Those children cannot be blamed on me. Ryan gave me a strange smile. Fine. He lifted his hand. Slightly. Chelsea immediately walked toward me, hatred written all over her face. Then she dragged me out, shoved me into the trunk of the car and drove me to a DNA testing clinic. The doctor looked at me with open contempt. Clearly, he had already decided I was a cheating wife who had given birth to another man's children. Ryan punched the wall, his shoulders trembling. My heart twisted painfully. I walked over, wanting to comfort him. But the moment my hand touched him, he recoiled like I had burned him. Then he slapped me across the face. You disgusting woman. You won't even acknowledge your own sons. Don't touch me. Stay away from me. His reaction stunned me. I instinctively reached for his sleeve. Ryan, but he jerked away again. Get away from me, he growled. You make me sick. Looking at him like that, I felt heartbroken and powerless. Ryan, what happened to you? We loved each other so much. Why are you doing this? He looked up at me. Honey, it's because I love you too much. Why can't you just listen to me this once? Then he dropped to his knees. With a thud. Honey, I'm begging you. Please accept the children. Just this once. Listen to me this once, okay? The moment he knelt, everyone around us erupted. Oh my God. That poor man is on his knees. She looks normal. But how can she be so heartless? Those kids are already so big. How can their own mother refuse to acknowledge them? Young people these days are unbelievable. She must have another man. Exactly. Why else would she refuse to claim her own children? Record it. Put it online and let everyone see what kind of person she is. The accusations and insults crashed over me like a wave. I tried to explain. No, it's not what you think. But my voice was drowned out by the crowd. She's still making excuses. Teach her a lesson. I didn't know who moved first. Someone shoved me. Then another person struck me. The crowd lost control and I was knocked to the ground. I curled up trying to protect myself. But in the chaos, something hit the back of my head. Pain burst through me. Then everything went black. When I woke up, I was lying in a hospital bed. The nurse in the room looked at me with fear in her eyes. Then she handed me a document envelope. I sat up against the pillows and opened it with trembling fingers. The moment I saw what was inside, I finally understood why everyone had been forcing me to accept those 3 children. Inside the envelope were 2 DNA reports. The first was the one I had requested. Result: probability of maternity, 0%. I wasn't the biological mother. My hands trembled with relief. I knew it. But underneath it was another report. The hospital's own emergency blood analysis, performed after I had been admitted unconscious. The nurse whispered, please, keep reading. I turned the page. At the top, in bold letters, were words that made my blood freeze. Subject: Vivian Bennett. Genetic profile match, classified genome registry. Status: registered maternal template. My heartbeat stopped. What is this? The nurse instinctively took 2 steps backward. You don't know. I've never seen this before. She swallowed. The police will be here soon. My mind went blank. What police? Just then, the hospital room door burst open. Not officers. Men and women dressed in black suits filed inside. No badges. No names. Only silver emblems stitched onto their collars, a symbol that looked like 3 intertwined circles. The lead woman, perhaps in her 50s, looked at me with an expression somewhere between pity and excitement. So, we finally found you. What are you talking about? She placed a thick leather file onto my bed. You are Vivian Bennett. Age 32. Blood type O positive. 8 years ago. You voluntarily donated your genetic material to the National Fertility Genome Project. My pupils shrink. No. I donated eggs. Exactly. She smiled. And according to the contract you signed, your DNA became part of Project Genesis. I stared at her. I donated eggs. I never gave birth. She nodded. Correct. You never carried a pregnancy. You never delivered a child. Biologically, those triplets were grown in an artificial womb. The room became eerily silent. There. My biological children? She slowly nodded. 100%. I felt the air leave my lungs. No. That's impossible. I was told my eggs would only be used if a couple needed fertility treatment. They were. She sighed. Then the government expanded the project. She opened another folder. Inside were photographs. Hundreds of babies. Toddlers. Teenagers. Adults. Every single one shared pieces of my face. What? What is this? They all came from you. My vision blurred. There are. How many? The woman answered quietly. Officially? 312. I nearly vomited. No, that's impossible. I donated once. You harvested 32 eggs. Each embryo was cloned repeatedly through stem cell replication. They became the foundation of Project Genesis. My hands shook so violently the papers scattered onto the floor. This is illegal. It was. Until Parliament legalized it 6 years ago. I couldn't hear anything after that. 312. Children? Then why? Why had Ryan insisted those specific triplets were mine? The woman closed the folder. That's the real mystery. She looked directly into my eyes. Because those 3 weren't created by the government. My head snapped upward. What? They were stolen. My breathing stopped. Someone broke into the Genesis archive 3 years ago. They stole 12 embryos. 9 were recovered. She slowly held up 3 fingers. 3 disappeared forever. The boys living with your husband. Are those missing embryos? A chill crawled down my spine. So someone raised them. Yes. And then abandoned them on your doorstep. Exactly. But why me? The woman didn't answer immediately. Instead, she asked, Mrs. Bennett, when your husband first saw those children, did he hesitate even once? I thought back. No, not even for a second. He had opened the door, looked at them, and immediately smiled. Honey, look, our children. No confusion. No surprise. No questions. Almost as if he had been expecting them. The woman watched my expression change. You figured it out. I whispered. Ryan. Already knew. She nodded. We believe so. A heavy silence filled the room. Then she spoke the sentence that shattered everything I thought I knew. Your husband has been under investigation for 18 months. What? We believe he works for whoever stole the embryos. Before I could process that, the hospital television suddenly switched on by itself. Every channel, every screen, every monitor. The same breaking news flashed in red. Breaking news. Top genetic scientist Dr. Elias Hart found dead. The woman in black went pale. No. An alert immediately sounded throughout the hospital. A younger agent rushed into the room. Director, they've breached the hospital. They're here for Vivian. The lights flickered. Then the entire floor went dark. Somewhere down the hallway. Bang. A gunshot echoed. Then another. The woman drew a pistol from beneath her jacket. She looked straight at me. Mrs. Bennett. From this moment on, trust no one. Not your husband. Not your parents. Not your best friend. She paused. And especially, not anyone who claims those triplets are ordinary children. Outside the room, a little boy's laughter echoed softly through the dark hallway. It was unmistakable. One of the triplets. A small voice drifted through the darkness. Mommy, we finally found you. Vivian's blood ran cold. The voice was unmistakably one of the triplets. Mommy, we finally found you. The hospital room fell silent. The agents exchanged alarmed glances. Impossible, the director whispered. The boys were quarantined. A soft giggle echoed from the hallway. Tap, tap, tap. Tiny footsteps approached the door. The handle slowly turned. Click. The door opened just enough for a small face to peek inside. It was one of the boys. He smiled sweetly. There you are. The agents immediately raised their weapons. Don't move. The little boy didn't even flinch. Instead, he looked past them and fixed his eyes on Vivian. His smile widened. We missed you. Vivian's heart pounded. Who are you? I'm Noah. He tilted his head innocently. My brothers are Ethan and Owen. We've been looking for our mother for a very long time. I'm not your mother, Vivian said firmly, despite the fear tightening her throat. I never gave birth to you. For the first time, the boy's smile faltered. Then he spoke in a calm, almost adult voice. That's what they told you. Vivian frowned. What do you mean? Before Noah could answer, one of the agents lunged forward to grab him. The instant her hand touched his shoulder, she screamed. A deafening ringing filled the room. The agent collapsed to the floor, clutching her head as blood streamed from her nose and ears. The other agents recoiled. What happened? I don't know. Noah simply looked down at the unconscious woman. I'm sorry. I don't like hurting people. The director's face lost all color. Everyone back. No physical contact. She stared at Noah as though she had just recognized something from an old nightmare. So it's true. Vivian looked between them. What is true? The director answered without taking her eyes off the child. Those boys weren't ordinary embryos. She swallowed hard. Project Genesis had a secret division. It wasn't about treating infertility. It was about creating genetically enhanced humans. Vivian felt her stomach twist. No. The embryos were edited before implantation. They were designed to have accelerated intelligence, extraordinary healing, and neurological abilities we still don't fully understand. Noah looked almost embarrassed. We didn't ask to be made this way. The hallway suddenly erupted into chaos. Secure the exits. They're inside. More gunshots rang out. Then came an explosion from somewhere below, shaking the entire building. Dust drifted from the ceiling. The director spoke rapidly into her radio. Evacuate the principal witness. We're moving to the underground route. Before anyone could move, another voice echoed from the corridor. That's not necessary. Ryan stepped into view. He looked completely different from the frantic husband who had begged Vivian to accept the children. His clothes were immaculate. His expression was calm, cold, confident. Several armed men in black tactical gear stood behind him. He smiled faintly. Vivian, I'm glad you're awake. Her entire body tensed. You knew. Ryan sighed. I hoped you'd never find out. The director pointed her gun at him. Ryan Taylor. Step away from the witness. Ryan ignored her completely. His eyes never left Vivian. I never lied about one thing. You are their mother. You just misunderstood what that meant. Vivian's voice trembled. Then why? Why did you destroy my life? Why make everyone believe I'd abandon them? For the first time, genuine pain crossed Ryan's face. Because if I had told you the truth, they would have killed you 8 years ago. The room fell silent. Vivian stared at him. What? Ryan slowly reached into his jacket. Every gun immediately aimed at his chest. Instead of drawing a weapon, he pulled out an old photograph. He gently placed it on the hospital bed. Vivian looked down. It showed a much younger Ryan. Beside him stood a smiling man in a white lab coat. The same scientist whose death had just been reported on television. Dr. Elias Hart. And standing on the other side was Vivian herself. She looked no older than 24. She was laughing. One arm linked with Ryan's. The other resting on Dr. Hart's shoulder. Vivian's breathing stopped. I've never seen this picture before. Ryan closed his eyes. I know. Because someone erased those memories. The director's expression changed instantly. Destroy that photograph. She fired. Ryan ducked. The bullet shattered the hospital window instead. Ryan shouted at Vivian. Don't trust them. You didn't just donate your DNA. You worked on Project Genesis. You helped create it. And someone made sure you'd never remember. Vivian froze. No. Her voice cracked. That's impossible. I've never been a scientist. Ryan laughed bitterly. That's what you believe. He looked directly into her eyes. Tell me something. Why have you never questioned the scar behind your left ear? Her hand instinctively flew to the spot. Hidden beneath her hair. There was a thin, pale scar. She had always assumed it came from a childhood fall. Ryan's voice softened. You woke up in a hospital 8 years ago after a supposed car accident. You were told you suffered a concussion. You couldn't remember the previous 6 months. Vivian's pupils dilated. It was true. She had forgotten that period entirely. Doctors had told her memory loss after head trauma wasn't unusual. She had accepted it. The director's expression hardened. Enough. She nodded to the agents. Take him alive. The agents surged forward. Ryan's men intercepted them, and the quiet hospital room exploded into chaos. Gunfire cracked through the air. Glass shattered. People shouted. Ryan used the confusion to rush toward Vivian. He grabbed her wrist. Come with me. Before she could answer. No. One of the triplets stepped between them. It was Noah. For the first time, his innocent smile was gone. He looked frightened. Please don't fight. His voice trembled. We don't have much time. Everyone paused. Even Ryan. What do you mean? Vivian asked. Noah looked toward the window, as if listening to something far away. They're coming. Who? The people who made us. A loud roar echoed overhead. The entire building vibrated. Helicopters. Not one. Several. Searchlights swept across the hospital windows. The director's face turned white. They found us. Ryan cursed under his breath. They're early. The youngest of the 3 boys, Owen, suddenly ran into the room, clutching a small metal case almost as big as his chest. I found it. He handed it to Noah. Noah carefully opened it. Inside was a single glass vial filled with shimmering blue liquid. Vivian stared at it. What is that? Noah looked at her with surprising sadness. Your memories. Silence filled the room. My memories? They copied them before they erased them. Ryan nodded slowly. Dr. Hart made a backup. He knew one day you'd need to remember. The director immediately raised her gun. Destroy the vial. An agent fired. The bullet struck the metal case, knocking it from Noah's hands. The vial flew into the air. Everything seemed to slow. Vivian reached for it. Ryan reached too. So did the director. The glass vial hit the floor. Crack. Blue liquid splashed across Vivian's hands. The instant it touched her skin, agony exploded inside her mind. She screamed. Flashes tore through her consciousness. A bright laboratory. Rows of artificial wombs. Dozens of developing embryos. Dr. Hart smiling proudly. You've done it, Vivian. You've solved genetic rejection. Another memory. Ryan, younger, laughing as they celebrated. Then another. A boardroom. Men in expensive suits arguing. They're not children anymore. They're assets. We can sell them. Vivian slammed her fist on the table. They're human beings. One of the executives smiled coldly. Not according to the contracts. Another flash. Late at night. Vivian copying files onto a drive. Dr. Hart whispering urgently. They'll kill us if they know. You have to run. Another memory. A dark parking garage. A sharp sting in her neck. A masked figure. Then, her own mother. Standing beside the masked man. Tears streamed down her mother's face as she signed a document. Erase everything. My daughter can never remember. The final memory hit like a hammer. Her father took the envelope full of money. Her mother looked away. The masked man asked one last time. Are you certain? Her father answered without hesitation. For that amount. You can have her memories. Vivian's eyes snapped open. She stared into space, shaking uncontrollably. No. Hot tears poured down her face. My parents. They sold me. Ryan caught her as her knees gave way. I'm sorry. I wanted to tell you. But I couldn't risk triggering your memories before we found the backup. Vivian slowly looked at him. For the first time since her rebirth, she saw something she hadn't noticed before. The deep scars hidden beneath the sleeve of his shirt. Old scars. Years old. Not self-inflicted, wounds left by restraints and repeated injuries. Before she could ask about them, Noah looked toward the shattered window. They're here. A sleek black helicopter descended outside. On its side was the same emblem of 3 intertwined circles. But this time, beneath the emblem were 3 words that made Ryan's face lose all color. Genesis Authority. Ryan whispered. We're out of time. Then, from the helicopter, an older man in a perfectly tailored suit stepped onto the rooftop landing. He removed his sunglasses, looked directly through the broken window at Vivian, and smiled like a father greeting a long-lost daughter. Welcome back, Dr. Bennett. I've been waiting 8 years for you to remember. The smile on the man's face made Vivian's skin crawl. He wasn't relieved. He wasn't emotional. He looked satisfied, as though a carefully laid plan had finally reached its conclusion. He stepped through the ruined window with impossible calm while armed guards poured into the room behind him. The remaining agents lowered their weapons. Not because they wanted to, because they recognized him. The director's hand trembled. Chairman Graves. So this was the man behind the Genesis Authority. Graves' silver hair was perfectly combed, and not a speck of dust had settled on his tailored suit despite the chaos around him. His eyes never left Vivian. You've changed very little, Dr. Bennett. Vivian's breathing was uneven. My name is Vivian Taylor. Graves smiled. No, that is the name you were given after we erased your past. You were born Vivian Bennett. But the woman who created Project Genesis was Dr. Vivian Bennett. I didn't create monsters, she shot back. I was trying to help infertile families. Graves gave a slow clap. And you did. Thousands of children were born because of your research. Then we simply expanded its potential. Vivian's fists clenched. You turned children into experiments. I turned humanity into its next stage. Ryan stepped in front of Vivian. You'll never take her back. Graves barely acknowledged him. Ryan, you disappointed me. I spent years training you. And you chose love over duty. Vivian looked sharply at Ryan. You worked for him? Ryan closed his eyes. I did. I was assigned to protect you after your memories were erased. His voice broke. But somewhere along the way, I stopped pretending. I fell in love with you. The confession hung heavily in the room. Everything Vivian believed about their marriage had become tangled in lies, yet the pain in Ryan's face seemed genuine. Graves sighed. An unfortunate side effect. He turned toward the triplets. Noah, Ethan, Owen. The 3 boys instinctively moved closer to Vivian instead. Graves frowned for the first time. Come here. Noah shook his head. No, she's our mother. The room fell silent. Graves' expression hardened. You were not designed to form attachments. Noah answered quietly. We weren't designed to have choices either. But we do. Graves looked almost irritated. So Hart's emotional programming worked. He made a small gesture with 2 fingers. One of the guards handed him a tablet. He tapped the screen once. Instantly, all 3 boys screamed. They collapsed to the floor, clutching their heads. Stop, Vivian cried, rushing toward them. Ryan grabbed her arm. It's a neural failsafe. The boys writhed in agony. Noah gasped through clenched teeth. He controls the implants. Vivian stared at Graves in horror. You put implants in children? They're valuable assets, Graves replied calmly. You don't leave assets unsecured. Something inside Vivian finally snapped. Years of confusion. 2 lifetimes of betrayal. Watching everyone she loved either manipulate her or turn against her. She stepped forward until she stood only a few feet from Graves. You keep calling them assets. They're children. Graves smiled faintly. They're both. Vivian's hand moved before she could think. Smack. The slap echoed through the ruined hospital room. Every guard froze. Ryan froze. Even the triplets stopped crying for a moment. A bright red mark appeared on Graves' cheek. It was probably the first time anyone had struck him in decades. He slowly turned his head back toward her. Instead of anger, he laughed. A quiet, unsettling laugh. Excellent. Vivian frowned. What? He rubbed his cheek. I was beginning to worry. Worry about what? That the memory restoration had failed. He looked genuinely pleased. That temper. That refusal to submit. Now I know. The real Dr. Vivian Bennett has returned. Then his smile vanished. Which means, there is no longer any reason to keep your parents alive. Vivian's heart skipped a beat. What did you say? Graves glanced at one of his guards. Terminate Arthur and Melissa Bennett. The guard immediately lifted a radio. Order received. Vivian's anger instantly gave way to shock. No. Despite everything they had done to her, she instinctively stepped forward. You can't just kill them. Graves looked at her almost curiously. They sold your memories. They signed the authorization. They accepted the payment. They attempted to kill you. And yet, you still want to save them? Vivian didn't answer. She couldn't. Graves smiled knowingly. Hart was right. What? He said compassion would always be your greatest strength. He paused. And your greatest weakness. Before anyone could react, an alarm blared from the tablet in Graves' hand. His expression changed. For the first time, he realized he might actually lose. Within minutes, the story exploded across every television channel, news website, and social media platform. Secret Genesis program exposed. Illegal human experiments revealed. Hundreds of stolen embryos linked to powerful officials. The files Noah had released contained everything: contracts, financial transfers, security footage, private emails, recorded board meetings. There was nowhere left to hide. One leaked video showed Chairman Graves telling investors, "Children are easier to control than adults. Raise them correctly and they'll become the perfect workforce." Another recording showed members of the Genesis board laughing as they discussed selling genetically engineered children to the highest bidders. The public erupted. Protests filled the streets overnight. Former Genesis employees came forward with evidence of their own. Scientists who had stayed silent for years finally admitted what had happened. Within 48 hours, international investigators arrived. Every Genesis facility was raided. Laboratories were sealed. Servers were seized. Accounts worth billions of dollars were frozen. Chairman Graves tried to flee the country in a private jet. He never made it. Airport security surrounded the aircraft before it could leave the runway. He was arrested in front of dozens of cameras. This time, there were no bodyguards left to protect him. No powerful friends willing to answer his calls. No secret organization to silence witnesses. Only handcuffs. As cameras flashed around him, a reporter shouted, "Chairman Graves, did you experiment on children?" Another yelled, "Did you erase Dr. Vivian Bennett's memories?" Graves lowered his head. For the first time in decades, he had no answer. The investigation didn't stop there. Once Genesis's records were recovered, investigators uncovered another horrifying truth. Every payment made to Vivian's parents, every signed consent form, every recorded meeting. There was even security footage from 8 years earlier. Arthur Bennett slid a contract across the table. Melissa Bennett stared at the check with trembling hands. An executive asked one final time, "Once we erase her memories, there's no going back." Arthur answered without hesitation, "Do it." Melissa slowly nodded. "We'll tell her she had an accident." The footage aired nationwide. Millions watched in stunned silence. Vivian's parents, who had spent years pretending to be loving parents, became symbols of betrayal. Neighbors who had defended them stopped answering their calls. Friends disappeared. Their employers dismissed them within days. Every interview they attempted ended the same way. "Did you really sell your daughter's memories?" Neither of them could deny it. The documents carried both of their signatures. Chelsea Zeller was next. Security footage from Vivian's house had survived in a cloud backup. The world watched as Chelsea stormed into the kitchen, grabbed a knife, and attacked her lifelong friend. Even worse, investigators discovered months of messages between Chelsea and Ryan. At first, people assumed they were having an affair. They weren't. The messages revealed something almost as disturbing. Ryan had repeatedly begged Chelsea to keep Vivian calm and away from anything that might trigger her missing memories. Chelsea had never been told the full truth. She genuinely believed Vivian had abandoned her own children. Still, the public had little sympathy after seeing her violence. She was arrested on charges related to the attack. During questioning, she broke down sobbing. "I thought I was protecting innocent children. I didn't know. No one told me." Ryan surrendered voluntarily. Unlike the others, he confessed to everything he had done. He admitted he had lied, manipulated Vivian, allowed the world to believe she was a monster. He also handed investigators every classified file he had secretly copied over the years. Those files became the foundation of the prosecution's case. Because of his cooperation, prosecutors acknowledged that he had ultimately helped expose Genesis, but they also made clear that it did not erase the harm caused by his actions. The 3 boys were placed under the protection of a specialized medical and psychological care team while the courts determined their legal status. For the first time in their lives, no one called them assets. No one treated them as experiments. They were simply children. Several months later, Vivian stood outside a quiet memorial dedicated to Dr. Elias Hart and everyone who had lost their lives trying to expose Genesis. She placed a single white lily beneath his photograph. "I remembered," she whispered. "I'm sorry it took so long." A gentle voice answered from behind her. "You remembered exactly when you were supposed to." She turned. Ryan stood several feet away under escort. He looked thinner, older. The confidence he once carried had disappeared. "I'm not asking you to forgive me," he said quietly. "I don't know if I ever could." Vivian looked at him for a long moment. "You loved me." "Yes." "You also lied to me every day." "Yes." "You let everyone believe I was a monster." Ryan lowered his eyes. "I did." She nodded slowly. "I believe you loved me." A tear rolled down Ryan's cheek. But love without honesty isn't enough. He closed his eyes. "I know." The guards signaled that it was time to leave. Ryan gave one final nod before walking away without looking back. Vivian watched him disappear, feeling sadness rather than hatred. Some wounds could heal. Others simply became part of who you were. She turned toward the sunlight where Noah, Ethan, and Owen were waiting. No longer as evidence. No longer as experiments. Just 3 boys hoping for an ordinary future. No one could give them back the childhood they had lost. But for the first time, they had something better than secrets.